All right, well, that was an interesting game.
Yeah,
You
I don't
know,
know about your deck, but mine did what it was supposed to do, pretty much.
yeah, I think so my general thinking was that I was going to get a bunch of dudes hooked up with these Holly's Rose, but for the purposes of defending my own deeds and being able to run Office of Ancestral Affairs to just try to
With
build up a
Bethany.
bunch of control points quickly. But I think I mean, for one, Full Moon Brotherhood really shut down a lot of what I wanted to do, right? But I mean, Bethany Shao pretty much had to leave town to avoid
Yeah,
that. Um, 'Cause having that additional influence from my attire was really critical. And then, you know, same goes for Sarah. Like she couldn't use her stud ability, which
yep,
was troublesome as well.
yep. That's what Full Moon is good at, I guess. Um, yeah, some decks are harder countered by it than others, but I don't know. I like it. In that first beginning of the game, I think you had a couple, you know, I guess it's a couple bad shootouts, or I don't remember how many it was, but then you started clawing back, and it was starting to look more worrying for me because you had all the movement, and I was stuck over at a deed, and if I wanted to go anywhere, I would have booted.
Yeah, I mean, what I was also thinking was with Gamora Lock Commission in play, I have multiple copies of some deeds, including High Stakes Haven. I just never ended up playing it because you started camping it. But thinking that that would help me with movement as well.
Yep.
Um, and of course, Silver Pheasant's Bounty and other spirits providing some additional income
Oh yeah,
and
Silver
movement.
Pheasants is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, did you have any like other than Holly's Rose? Was there any other like tech in there referencing abominations, or was that just for the
Well,
influence? And
what I got excited about and didn't end up doing at all this game was trying to get the caretaker into play. Um,
okay.
and then putting him or her, I guess, at
It
I don't know, yeah, at one of my more valuable deeds, maybe lot commission or something like that. And then if they're
camp
just
out.
camping there, they're 5 value 4 stud abomination. Um,
Yep.
that'd be
Potentially 5 stud if you have Bethany's stuff going on.
exactly. And there's other attire in this deck, so that was sort of the line of thinking was use the job abilities to buff up the deeds with control points, but then those dudes have to go home. So someone has to be left there. So either we're sending him back with Spirit Trail or having, you know, particularly the caretaker on a deed. And I wasn't starting them because originally I had Tuoti from Hell's Coming With Me in my starting posse. But since we decided not to bother trying to make that work, I was just relying on recruitment drive to be able to get that into play, and it just
Okay.
never worked out to. They weren't in the deck or in the discard pile early, and then later in the game when they were, it just wasn't convenient, or I'd run myself out of money. There was a point where I had Silver Pheasant's Bounty in hand, and I should have used General Store to attach it to a deed, um, and then got 2 Ghost Rock off of that, which would have let me play a couple other things. But
Okay. Yeah, the
uh,
order on that is
yeah,
important.
I misordered that, which was a little rough. I mean, I think the caretaker thing still works. Probably better off if it's just in the starting posse, or if I am willing to put multiple copies in my deck to increase the chances of having them in the discard pile. But I just was reluctant to put a bunch of, I don't know, they sitting on
It's
ace or
ace
three.
value
I
dude,
think it's
right?
an ace value dude, right? So when I started thinking about using these spirits to try to take full advantage of Office of Ancestral Affairs, that kind of ruled out using a lot of the different abominations because they're such low values.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I mean, like Silver Pheasant's Bounty, one thing I was thinking about some of these is, they have benefits even if they're not being used for their spirit ability. So, I mean, +1 production is nothing to sneeze at
Yep,
for,
yep.
you know,
That's
for a
probably
Ghost Rock. So, a
my
reasonable
favorite card
investment.
to include with Office of Ancestral Affairs for sure.
Hmm.
So even if you go home, yeah, it's still. Then you got Mazzatl who can go back over to any deed that has a totem and
Well, yeah,
shoot
and
out.
I subbed him in for Tuodi. So, yeah, I think I need to do some more thinking about how this deck comes together. Um,
And obviously, it's not ideal to base everything on one game, but it gives you some good ideas.
yeah, I mean, for your deck, I think it did what it wanted to do. You got 3 of your 4 copies, presumably, of.
Actually, I only have 3 in the deck, but
Oh,
that
really?
is pretty much the main card in the deck, yeah, so
Hmm.
I got lucky there.
And then I saw you got out Epitaph Branch Office. That would have gotten you control point.
Yeah,
Um, did
on
you have
theme.
other ways of getting control points on your dudes?
Let's see, I have Summoning. Actually, I think I only have 1 copy, but it's a way to get an Abomination in play and get a control point on them. I have. Oh, the other number 2 most important card was Adler's Needle,
Mm.
which that's a fun new card that I haven't played with yet, but
Yeah,
another
remind
way to.
me how that works again?
So that's
Or if you could
you
put it
should
on
pull that
the
up on your screen. But oh
can you
yeah,
bring it on the table? I can show it
yeah.
that
Let's see
way.
if I can find it. Adler's Needle. There it is. So yeah, either I force you to get someone in the shootout you don't want in the shootout, or I get control points.
Oh, yeah,
And regardless, it's 2 bullets.
that is nice.
And actually, I asked this question on the forums recently. If I Full Moon Brotherhood a dude first, then I can Adler's Needle that dude, and I automatically get the control point because they're not allowed to join by card effects. They're not
Oh,
allowed to.
yeah, that's rough.
So that's a cool combo.
Because, yeah, if they're at an adjacent location.
I think that's all I have. Oh, Essence of Armitage is another potential way. If you run away, you can boot it to get a control point.
That's right. Yeah, I actually have a copy of that in here as well.
I think that's all I got though. Yeah, mostly built around Corporeal Twist.
Yeah, it's certainly enough. I mean, and I guess even if you don't get it out right away, you still got enough going on to be able to
There's enough other ways. Yeah.
yeah, force some shootouts and get some control points.
Yep. So this is a pretty fun deck. I like it. I don't know. I think I'd have to play it a few more times to know how I would want to tune it, but
Yeah, I concur. I mean, I like the idea of what this deck is trying to do, but I think in practice, I'm not so sure how well it would end up working. One thing I was concerned about when you said you were going to be building with control points on dudes was that you would be playing your own game, just grabbing control points in different ways with Allie, for example, and I would just be
uh,
at home running jobs and going back home, um, which is not super interactive or really a good
yeah,
way to win games.
I wanted to avoid any sort of outlaw, Desolation Row, Original Sloan, or Alley, any of that stuff I wanted to avoid. Just kind of explore different areas.
Yeah, I mean, curious to see what other people think about putting abominations in first peoples, if there's better ways to do it than the route I ended up going. Certainly, this route ended up being fairly complex with a lot of moving pieces. So,
Yeah, yeah. That's well. We'll see if anybody has any ideas. We can post these on the forums and see if anybody wants to comment.
yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for a great game and for taking part in this experiment with me. We'll see
Yeah,
what
this is
people
a lot of
think.
fun. We definitely need to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll go with something a little more straightforward next time. All right,
Sounds
cool. Well, thanks, Joe. Have a
all
good
right.
evening.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy.